to the live today. We are live on VO's Journey YouTube channel. This channel is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow business and sidestep all of the crazy landmines I seem to step on. Welcome. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you. I'm excited about today's topic. I want to talk about how you can get started as a beginner on Fiverr. I think I coach a lot of people on Fiverr, and many of them have been on Fiverr for a while, but there's a lot of new people coming into Fiverr. You might be one of them, or you might have been on Fiverr just a little bit and you're just struggling trying to get started. And what I wanted to do is take this video and kind of highlight some things right off the bat that I would be doing if I was just starting over again. Hello, everybody. Hey, Sabah. Hey, Anthony. Great name, Anthony. So anyways, let's start out at the beginning. So it's super important, I think, that, you go through and you make sure that your account is just completely filled out from top to bottom. Okay. And this goes for any site that you're on. For example, like today I'm spending some time. I did my voiceover work this morning, and now I'm working on filling out, joining more websites and joining other things out there. I mean, I make a lot of money from Fiverr, but that you don't ever want to just be one place. But the point is that every place I go, including Fiverr, which I do often, is I revise and add and try to really bulk up or make sure that I am telling a good story with what I on my site, and I'm telling customers that are seeing me on Fiverr that I am excited that they're there, and I want them to I'm thrilled that they could purchase from me, and so you really need to spend time and deck out your site from top to bottom, everything, your description, your facts, your extras, as much as you can. That's something. Now, let's say you've done all that. Let's say next thing is like your demo, right? Your demo can be one of the biggest things that you can do. Hey, what's up, man? Be doggy 45. I like that. One of the things that I notice, especially with people starting out, is figuring out their demos. Now, I have a video that I made a long time ago about how to make your own demo, and you can find it here on the YouTube channel. But it's super important that you have the best demo that you can create at this moment. I'm not a big proponent of you going out and getting a demo and you not be able to recreate at least the sound. But I think hey, James, I think it's important that you can at least have some great work, some samples of work for people to listen to, because the word is out about Fiverr. People are joining, more and more voiceover artists, other professionals are joining Fiverr every day. Yes, Fiverr is growing. There's more customers coming in, but because there's more competition on that platform, you have to be that much better. So try your very best to have the very best you can be when it comes to your demo. And of course, your picture is really important because, people look first, right, with their eyes. That's how they shop first, even for voiceover artists. Okay, so we're all there. Let's say you've done all that, and you've filled all that out to the best of your ability. You're like, Anthony, come on, tell me what's the meat of it. Well, there's two things. I'm gonna just be honest with you. There's no way that you starting out are going to compete with me on Fiverr. It's impossible. It's just not. You're not going to compete with me. All right, where I'm at, and I don't mean that from like you're not as good as me. On the contrary, I don't think I'm the best at all. But on Fiverr, I've built up a resume on that platform. I'm a top rated seller on that platform. So it's difficult for someone new coming in to compete with that credibility, right? So what you can do, though, is that you can utilize the fact that you have a lot of different places that you can go on Fiverr using multiple different gigs. All right. So let me explain this. When I first started out, I had the American Male voiceover, but I was never on the front page, second page, third page, fourth page. I mean, I think I was on like, you find yourself on like page 10 or 11 and you're like, there's no way no one's ever going to see me back here. You don't know what to do, right? Because no matter what it is, there's, all those people, there's hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people in front of you. So American Male voiceover or male voiceover that's a highly trafficked keyword. And I know those of you might be familiar with SEO or keywords, you kind of understand that, you know, the main keywords, those are the most targeted. Those are the people who have, you know, the longest standing reputation on the site. They're the ones who are going to rank the highest for that. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get there when you first start out, right? So where else can you go? Well, not everybody gets like, you know, not everybody is searching for American male voiceover or female voiceover, right? Some people might type in e-learning voice. Some people might type in, you know, cartoon character. So your job then to get noticed as a beginner is to start testing out different titles, different keywords around the voiceover industry so that you can get found a lot easier. When I first started, like I said, I wasn't getting any business. And then Halloween rolled around the same exact time, which is very interesting because I'll tell you about this. But, you know, I thought, oh, you know, I love characters. I love evil characters. You know, I do this like kind of stuff. I love that. Anyways, I decided I would create an evil character demo and an evil character gig because I just wanted to try it out and it looked fun. And as I looked more about Fiverr has changed, yes, because they've gone public and they're trying to raise prices and everything like that. However, Fiverr still has they still kind of pride themselves on a place where you can go find things that you can't find anywhere else, right? Yeah, you can see that in certain parts of Fiverr. So I was like, well, I didn't at the time. No one was really doing evil characters. I mean, there was character stuff, but like the evil character, there was a few, you know, people that looked like they had Gandalf on there or something. But there wasn't really anybody doing that yet. So I found a little niche area. I was like, oh, this is great. It was right before Halloween, so I put that up, and all of a sudden, I started getting lots of business. That was a keyword that people happened to be typing in and they started finding me and that started snowballing. I mean, I did work for everybody. I did work for, you know, bands who had like a scary Halloween march when they wanted some scary voiceover. I did voiceover work for, you know, guys running D&D matches, you know, with their friends. I did all sorts of that's what I love about Fiverr too, is that you can do stuff for people that you'd never think would ever have purchased, you know, $1,000 voiceover. I mean, I think that's fun. Anyways, point I'm trying to make is from that, thank you, the voice actor t-shirt. From that, I learned that when you are on Fiverr and you're just beginning, it's super key to get yourself out in as many different places as you can. Now, I do want to point out that I've had a lot of training in acting, so I do have some abilities other than, you know, like I can do character work. I'm good at imitation, you know what I mean? So that really helps me a lot. And you might be a person who you're like, well, I don't do those things yet. But the thing is that you can target different things within the same genre. Like I said, audiobooks, e-learning, intros and outros, all kinds of, you know, IVR is big. IVR is a big business right now because, especially on Fiverr, because everybody and their brother and sister needs a good voicemail, and voicemail is kind of easy to do. You know, I mean, it's easier to call and get like a voicemail. It makes sense. And so like I see that blowing up, and I coach a lot of people where that's blowing up for them. I don't do a lot of IVR, but what my suggestion would be to you is that when you first start out at level 0, you have 5 gigs. Use all of them. Try every single thing. When you have level 1, I think you go up to 10, use all 10. When you're at level 2, you're at 20, use as many as you can. All right. And then what's going to happen though is don't ever leave them stagnant. So as you are beginning and you test things out, if nothing is happening, at least the cool thing about Fiverr is it doesn't take you long to figure out if something's working or not, which is really nice. You know, like the old Google thing, if you had a website, you have to wait for like years and stuff, or, you know, it to build up, you know, cloud and whatever, you know, but on Fiverr, you know, I mean, yes, the reviews and everything help, but you could see people with over 1,000 reviews and they're still not at the top. You know, it varies depending on what your keywords are, what your title is, what your description is, and also how relevant you are in the searches. So always be testing out, never leave any of your stuff idle. So that's what I would specifically do if I was just starting out again, is I would literally put as many different types of gigs out there as I could and keep testing them. Go on Google, look up keywords that relate to voiceover, see if you can go into Fiverr, pull up an incognito window, etc., etc. Okay? All right, you guys, that's my little tip about how you can get recognized when you starting out on Fiverr. If you've got any questions over in the chat, go ahead and put them in now. I want to thank everybody for watching so far because we got a bunch of people. I appreciate it. Let's see. Nobody's got any questions yet. Seems like you have to do something different to get noticed. Yes, that's absolutely true. You've got to get You've got to. At level 0, we get 7. Great, cool. All right. Awesome. You get 7. I think it used to be 5, but 7's better. Good deal. What's the best way to start the learning process when it comes to acting? Good question. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. I mean, many people, train and go to school and spend their whole life training on acting. The wonderful thing about what we do is that it's not live. So that gives you an opportunity to try some different things to get you into that place where you want to be, like describing an emotion through your words, a feeling through your words. So the very best thing to do actually is to start out by listening and watching and starting to think, when you listen to somebody, and they do something, like when you go and you listen to that recently, that and it's funny because it's back in 2010, but that Apple commercial that came out, Think Differently, I believe it originally came out with, or they originally was one with Richard Dreyfuss, but then there's been remakes of it. But anyways, so like recently all the voiceover, like I've done like 3 or 4 where people have submitted like, hey, we like this one. I'm like, okay. But the point is that, like I listened to it, and you're going to, your job as an actor is to imitate. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't say, impersonate, but you're imitating. So imitating is taking the style or the tone that someone has and then using who you are to imitate that. Right? So you bring your own self into what someone else is doing. So the very best thing to do first off is to start watching and listening and noting how they make you feel or how it happens. And then your job is to then, after you do that, I'm not saying you go, out in public and do this, but maybe in your car or whatever, you try to imitate it. Try to imitate how that sounds. What's interesting about voiceover, I think, is that, everybody wants you to bring a piece of yourself, and that's what makes us unique. But at the same time, there are kind of like rules, right, in the different areas of voiceover. For if you're doing a promo, if you're doing audiobooks, if you're doing, a 30-second commercial slot, if you're doing a radio slot, if you're doing a video narration. I mean, there's IVR. There's definite rules about how people want it to sound, but then they want you to play within those rules, right? And that's how you can express some of yourself with it. So one of the biggest things too about we're talking about voiceover is for you to start learning those rules and then how you play in them. And the rules you go about learning by listening. All right. So listen. Start noting how other people do it. And you try to imitate that the best that you can do. Remember, not impersonate, imitate. Impersonate is where you actually try to like make yourself sound exactly like the pitch, the tone, you sound like their voice. Imitating is just that you're imitating their tone, which is like, you're imitating the emotion they're trying to create. Does that make sense? All right. Good question. After that, I mean, there's many ways you can go. You can take classes and et cetera, et cetera. But I think before you spend any money, start by looking. Then there's techniques you can do before you start actually moving into doing your read, but we'll do that another time. Okay. Let's see. What's the best way? Unfortunately, I know that. Okay. Don't know what that means. Additional gigs. Do you keep prices and the basic info like facts? Okay. So, I literally live by this rule. I charge the same amount across the board. the same amount across the board. And I tell you why. When I first started, I had also put up an audiobook gig, and I was getting a lot of work because at that time, there wasn't a lot of people doing audiobook gigs. Of course, now it's blown up, but at the time there wasn't. And what was happening to me is my audiobook gig, because of the way Fiverr prices everything, you have to price it differently. If you've done that, you know what I mean, in order to get to like 10,000 words or something like that per finished hour, because Fiverr does it by words, not per hour. So because of that, I had to price that gig differently than the rest of mine. Well, what started happening is that people who wanted like commercial voiceovers would find that gig and literally, thank you, Anthony, and would find that gig and would literally order from me on that gig regular commercials, because it would be way cheaper than my other one. Does that make sense? So like people were finding ways around doing that. I was just saying today, like, people were purchasing different gigs for the wrong stuff again, but it's okay with me because I charge the same across the board. Now, when it comes to your FAQs and your description, yes, there is the common core of your description, like, who you are, or like what's your experience and background, etc. But at the same time, you want to tailor that description too with what type of voiceover you're doing, as well as the audience you're targeting. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be targeting a different audience for e-learning than you would, for radio spots. You know what I mean? You're targeting different people. So you need to make sure that you talk about at least what you're doing in there. Because to me, that makes it relevant, right? So if you're doing an e-learning, talk about that this is about e-learning. You've been in education for umpteen years, or you believe in education, that you know what I'm saying? So that's what I would do. So you can keep the core of it around the same, like, for example, your extras, all that stuff, but you definitely need to tailor it towards who you're working with, or who you want to work with. Yeah, I know I'm on Eastern time. As an actor yourself, did you feel you needed direction on voiceover speaking etiquette? Oh, so I have to tell you, I did not, even though I've been an actor my whole life, I had never been, I'd never read books out loud for long periods of time. So when I started doing that, I found out how bad I was at it, because you're not used to that, right? And I think when you start acting, it depends on what type of actor you are. But so like I'm a highly, I did a lot of improv, and so like even when I would do scripts, I would definitely memorize my lines, but I fudged a lot of them too, because I made that a part of who I was, and that was just me, and directors understood that. But some people are very by the book. So for me, that was kind of actually very difficult. I didn't seek direction at the time, just because honestly, I couldn't afford it. And I didn't even know what direction to go in, let alone to find somebody to put me in that way. But fortunately, my acting background, though, I really do think helped me when it came to all the different things I was doing, like different characters and all that kind of stuff. Because I'd already spent many, many years, doing those kinds of things, just never in a constructive way, like towards voiceover. All right, good question. Let's see. I'm a terrible reader. When I first started, I thought that I had I was awful at it. I was awful. You get better the more hours and hours you read out loud, you get better. You get used to it. Also, part of it's reading ahead, right? Like you got to get used to reading ahead. That was my hardest thing, because I wasn't used to that, because I'm, and plus I never read that much. I started reading a lot more self-help books as I've got older, but I didn't read a lot when I was younger. I hated to read. I was out more, like I played sports outside, did a lot more outside stuff than read. So I had not done a lot, and it kind of came back to bite me in the backside, I think. But as I've gotten better, what I found is it's easier for me to read ahead. So basically, as I'm reading, I'm also reading ahead. And as I do that, it makes it a lot easier. You mess up a lot less. But that took a while. And it's actually kind of hard. You got to force yourself to try it. And it's weird. I don't know if you've ever taken a speed reading course, but that's kind of the same thing with speed reading. You're supposed to be skimming way ahead of yourself as you're reading, And so it just, you got to force yourself to try to go faster, and you'll get there. Let's see. I found taking the headphones off helped me a bit more creative and natural. I don't record with my headphones at all. I can't stand them. It makes me sound different. Some people love it. I record completely without headphones. I never record with them on. Right. Dyslexia is a wicked mother. Yeah. People who read ahead are basically robots. No. It's literally it's taken me years to do it. You can do it, but you gotta really force yourself to try. And you just get what happens is you get better at understanding the structure, but there's still people who come around that books you read that are just like way out there that are really hard. But that's why I love voiceover, because you can stop, you can start, you can stop, you can start. So all right, you guys, thank you so much. Had a blast. You'll have a wonderful Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow, Wednesday, at 1:00. All right, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.